Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Bible Time. This is Wednesday, the Wednesday edition, and I'm excited about what we're doing today because today we are starting the study of a new book of the Old Testament, or what we call the Old Testament, the book of Chronicles. And as we've talked before, Chronicles in the original Hebrew Bible was one book, and it was the last book in the Hebrew Bible. And you remember, it's because it was written to people who had come back from exile in Babylon, back to Jerusalem, back to rebuilding and restoring the land. And this was written for them, written for their instruction and encouragement to do what they needed to do there in Jerusalem. And by the way, if you ever go to Jerusalem, don't go around asking anybody for an Old Testament. That would be kind of offensive to Jewish people. It's their Hebrew Bible. Or what I have here, as you can see, this is the Holy Scriptures. This is a Hebrew Bible, the Holy Scriptures. And what I want to show you in here too is, I don't know if you can see this, but the table of contents, what's the last book there? Chronicles. That's where we are today. It may not have been the last book written. Malachi might have been written later, but it's one of the last books written, and written to the people who had come back to the land. And you'll notice that this book, it goes from what we would consider back to front, or right to left. That's the Hebrew language. It goes from right to left. And just to show you a little bit about what it looks like, here's Chronicles. And if you really want to have an exciting time, you would pull out a Hebrew text and study Chronicles from the Hebrew text. I don't think we're quite there yet, so we won't do that. We'll stick to the English. But today we're looking at the first 3 chapters of Chronicles, introducing Solomon. And chapters 2 and 3, you'll read there's basically talking about the preparation and the building of the temple, the magnificent temple that Solomon is going to build for the Lord there in Jerusalem. And the temple is a key feature here in the book of Chronicles. And you'll notice as we go through, and they talk about the kings of Judah, they're separated into the good and bad kings. And the good kings are the ones who are concerned for the temple and the purity of its service. They're the ones who are seeking the Lord. And the bad kings are the ones who have a lack of concern for the temple, and they introduce false idolatrous worship. They forsake the Lord. And so the temple is going to have a key role here in understanding Chronicles. But also in chapter 1, we're introduced to Solomon. And the record here in Chronicles, just like it did with David, it's going to focus on the positive of Solomon. You're not going to read about a lot of the crazy things that Solomon did. But you're going to see in verse 1 of chapter 1 that the Lord was with him. The Lord was certainly with Solomon. And you'll see that in verses 4 through 6, he sought the Lord, just like his father David had told him to do. And then in verses 7 through 13, we have this interesting thing where the Lord comes to Solomon in the night and says, "Ask me for whatever you want." And Solomon, in a great display of humility, recognizing he doesn't know what he's doing, he may be in over his head, he asks for wisdom. He asks for wisdom. And the kind of wisdom that it's talking about in the Bible, it's a word that means to be skilled. And what it means here is to be skilled in living and the application of God's word to real life. And that's what he's asking for. And that's what all of us need to be asking for. That's what all of us should be seeking for. I just want to read you some verses from Proverbs chapter 2 that reinforces that. This is Solomon writing to his son. He says, "My son, if you receive my words and treasure up my commandments with you, making your ear attentive to wisdom and inclining your heart to understanding. Yes, if you call out for insight and raise your voice for understanding, if you seek it like silver and search for it as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding." And so just like Solomon asked for wisdom, you and I are commanded to seek for wisdom from God himself. And we're encouraged because you remember in James chapter 1, verse 5, it says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach." That you see that in giving wisdom to Solomon. He gave it to him generously. He gives it to him generously. So go to God, ask him, and it says, and it will be given to him. Is that what you and I are seeking today? Are we seeking wisdom? Are we wanting to live life skillfully? Are we desiring to live life the way God designed it? That's what wisdom is. And it's not just something you get as an old person and you've got wisdom for living. No, it's a particular kind of wisdom that understands the way God designed things and lives according to that design. That's what we want. That's what we see in Solomon. That's the great encouragement to all of us, as Solomon would encourage his son, and the descendants of David would be encouraged to pursue wisdom. So you and I today, living as Christians, followers of Jesus Christ, who is our wisdom, in whom all the treasures of wisdom are contained, we should be seeking wisdom as well. So here in the middle of the week, let's make it Wednesday for wisdom, or Wisdom Wednesday. Let's call this Wisdom Wednesday, and let's ask God to give us real wisdom in living for him. And maybe you want to pick up one of these Hebrew Old Testaments or Hebrew Bibles, or the Holy Scriptures, as it says here. Maybe you want to pick one of these up, put it on your Christmas list. You'll be blessed if you do. And we'll see you tomorrow for more Bible time.